Hey, I'm Teri Hendrich C. I'm an artist and astrologer from Los Angeles.
Hi, I'm Ada Pembroke, and I'm an astrologer and storyteller from the Oregon coast. And we are here because both Terry and I are astrologers with debilitated Venuses in our chart, which means that we have Venus in detriment in my case, and Terry has Venus in fall. I've got Venus in Aries, and Terry has Venus in Virgo. And interestingly enough, we just discovered as we were talking that we both have relationships with our partners who have Venus in debilitated signs as well. My husband has Venus in Scorpio, and Terry's husband has Venus in Virgo as well. So
Yeah.
we uh, we may be some of the most experienced astrologers when it comes to living personally with Venus in debilitation.
So we figured we'd just share our experiences and help enlighten those who might have a similar placement or just experiencing this transit.
Yeah, exactly. We're actually recording this while Venus is in Virgo. That was where how we originally got the idea. Terry has written quite a lot about Venus in Virgo, and I've written quite a lot about Venus in Aries, and we just kind of connected, and we're like, we think that we might have something to say that could be helpful to people about this. We actually came up with the idea weeks ago, and Venus is at 25 degrees, so we're just scooting in at the last minute before Venus is in nice, comfy Libra for a little while, but fortunately, living with Venus in detriment and fall is something that is always relevant if this is something that you're living with. So hopefully, our experiences can um, one, give you hope if you are watching this because you're like, oh no, I'm doomed. I'm never going to have a relationship. We both have relationships, and everyone involved in these relationships has debilitated Venuses, so we're okay. Um, and also, I'm hoping that by the end of this, you'll have some not just some hopes, but some tips for how to make the most of it because one of the things I love about me and Terry is that, Terry is an artist. And so one of the stereotypes around Venus being debilitated is, you have no aesthetic sense and you're not gonna, be very good at the arts. And like I have one of Terry's art books like right behind me in my view, which like at least from my very biased perspective, absolutely proves the lie to that one. Um, and I'm a published poet as well with a Venus in detriment. So having Venus in detriment isn't easy, but it's not some kind of death sentence for your relationships in aesthetic sense. And so um, yeah, I hope that this will um, kind of better the reputation of these particular placements.
Right. Yeah, I would hope to think that our lived experiences help to shed light for others and to know like, yeah, you're not doomed. It's not that terrible. There's things about it that I think are unexpected. And so I guess maybe we should explain what it actually means for Venus to be debilitated, which, Venus is debilitated in three signs, which are Virgo, and that's specifically where she is in fall. And then the Mars ruled signs, Scorpio and Aries, that's where she experiences detriment. And the general idea is that a planet is debilitated by sign when it's in a place it feels kind of out of sorts. It's not really in kind of its comfort zone. It doesn't really have the resources it normally would like to have for that planet. And, Venus is a planet of like peace and relationships. Whereas, especially when she's in a Mars world sign, Mars is like, hey, we're going to war. Like, and it's like, wait, what? What are you talking about? And so it's kind of like that sort of disorienting, like, what's going on here? Like, I'm not where I like to be kind of feeling.
Absolutely, absolutely. That what you said about Venus being in a Mars ruled sign really resonates for me as somebody who has Venus in Aries. My favorite description of what it's like to have Venus in Aries comes from the astrologer Charles Aubert. He says that it's like Julie Andrews on the battlefield. It's like you got this like, you know, person who's like suddenly, on in the Battle of the Somme, like dodging like tear gas and bullets and such. And so like the paradox of living with that is really interesting. What is it like though for like um you know for you, you have Venus and Virgo, so you don't have the Mars thing. You have Mercury, which is entirely different.
Yeah. So, specifically, Virgo is in fall, or sorry, Venus is in fall in Virgo. And, one of my astrology teachers, Austin Copics, he describes it as like it's where a planet is trapped or kind of can easily find
Mm.
itself trapped when it's in a place of fall. And so, what Venus gets trapped is in pursuit of perfection, which is, of course, not attainable. Like you can never actually be perfect, but it's still fixated on that idea. Um, so for me, it kind of manifests a couple different ways. Especially, I should note that my Venus serves as my ascendant ruler in my chart. So like I personally experience kind of, I would say, like even the insecurities of having a debilitated planet in, yeah, a sign where it's just not comfortable. And as an artist, it definitely comes up in the fact that the way I do my art, or have been for a while now, is like I do get really fixated on like making everything very like technically perfect. Like when I have an idea for like a painting, I'm like, okay, I need the right reference material, and then I use that reference material to like make a pretty exact like kind of composition that I follow, and then like I trace out that composition onto like the canvas, and it becomes like this like very long process because I'm in the pursuit of like making this like technically perfect. And I've definitely had to try and like let go of that, and because like it's just super time consuming to like you know do more than really what is required. Like I've lately been trying to let myself paint without doing all that like kind of, I guess, advanced sort of work. And when people see my work, they're like, "Oh yeah, it's great." Like they wouldn't have known that like I didn't like do all that other stuff that I normally would be doing. Um and another way like that my Venus and like Virgo has manifested is I recently went through a home remodel, and basically my art studio is also like my garage. So we had to like put a lot of stuff into our garage like for storage reasons. So once it got to the point of like, okay, we're back, we can put things, back into the house. I was so like fixated on the idea of like, oh, I need to organize my space before I feel like I have the freedom to creatively kind of work. But in some ways, that was like hindering me because like I was now spending all my time just organizing and not creating art. But like I kind of needed that mental space of like, okay, I need everything kind of calm and in its right place, like Virgo tendency, before I feel like I have the freedom to create. So yeah, those are some different
Yeah.
ways that it's kind of manifested for me.
I'll be honest, listening to you talking about that, as someone with Venus and Aries, I'm frankly in awe and a little bit envious. Like, I know that you're talking about the extremes of it, and you're talking about how the process can be a hindrance from the ability to improvise, and how, we're both moms, so we know what it's like to have a limited amount of time and be like, okay, I've got 45 minutes in the studio, let's get this done. And if you spend all of that time organizing, it's not like the time is going to come back. But, you know, Venus and Aries, all Aries planets are very much like you jump out of the airplane and then you start building your wings on the way down. And so I'm listening to you talking about this and I'm like, it just frankly sounds delightful to have a process to give up, let alone like because I often find myself in exactly the opposite position where like, I have committed to do something and I'm sitting down to do it and I'm like, do I even know how to do this? And it can be something that I've done 50 million times, but I will still be like, okay, I've done no planning whatsoever. I've done no setup. I'm like a chef who has no mez, and I'm just like, okay, gotta chop up the carrots. No, but the onions have to go in. But no, I have to put in the tomatoes, and I'm running around crazy. And your process just sounds so like I'm just grabbing the bowl of the onions and dumping them in because I've already taken care of myself ahead of time. And here I'm grabbing the mushrooms and everything is all set up and fine. And like, yes, it took time to begin with, but it's almost like you're creating peace for your future self that
Mm.
I often find in the present that I really wish my past self had done.
Uh, well, yeah, that's interesting. Just the word peace, because that's also something Venus wants.
Yeah. What is your relationship with peace? I mean, I feel like in the Mars ruled signs, it's pretty obvious. You're in a war zone. It's like the absolute opposite of peace. But you think about Virgo, and I at least don't have any like keywords for Virgo that are related to peace at all. So I'm curious about how peace
Mm.
shows up for you.
I feel like it kind of comes out. I mean, I think partly through my art. Like people have seen or described my work when they see it as like peaceful or like calming. So there's that, but yeah, at the same time, like I think internally, like I do not have peace. Um, like especially like I think with the added fact that Venus is my ascendant ruler, with that Virgo, like the self-criticism is real. Like, no one's gonna
Mm.
criticize me more than myself, and it's because of that Virgo wanting perfection and never being able to like only seeing what's wrong.
Mm. So there's this sense of always striving and striving and striving and never being able to rest almost.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so internally, maybe not feeling super at peace or content, but outwardly, I think when people see what I'm doing, they do get a sense of like maybe like a peace or calm or yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as someone who is definitely not on the inside of your process, but definitely is on the outside, um, I see the care that you bring to your work, and I see, I'm not a trained artist, so I'm sure that there are all kinds of things that I'm missing about your technical proficiency, but um, you are able to create the experience of peace for others
Mm.
that it sounds like you were not necessarily experiencing yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm like maybe striving to experience it, and maybe that's why like I make the art that I do, like because I
Mhm.
want to be in those scenes that I'm painting. Like, yeah.
I love that. I love I feel like aspirational has become such a dirty word, but like that wanting to create something that you want to feel and succeeding in creating that experience for others. I don't know. I just think that's really beautiful. Artist service. There's Venus and Virgo. Artist service.
Mm, yeah. Well, so Venus is also debilitated in Scorpio. So I wondered if you might have more insight into what that's like.
Well, I live with it in my house, whether I live with it in my head. Though, of course, whenever Venus is transiting Scorpio, we're all getting an honorary taste of what it's like to have Venus in Scorpio. So we've had experiences once every year or two of that particular sign, so we can all relate to it at least a little bit. But yeah, Venus in Aries and Venus and Scorpio are they're both Mars ruled, so there's definitely that very clear war peace dichotomy thing going on. Um, but Aries is an extroverted sign and Scorpio is an introverted sign. And so Venus in Aries has the tendency to express itself in the outer world a lot more. Um, in my relationship, I'm the one who definitely brings the outer world chaos. Sometimes I feel like, my husband has Saturn in Virgo, and so like I will be running through the kitchen just making an absolute mess, like the worst stereotype of a very emotional Italian cook. And he comes along behind me with the broom, just like cleaning cleaning up the mess as we go. Um, but Scorpio has the tendency to have storms in the mind, battles in the mind, battles in the heart. Aries is the sign of the adventure and the cluster, and so it's, going off in pursuit of the thing. And there's definitely a questing quality, an adventuring quality in Mars and Scorpio as well, but it's all very much in here, and it's all very much this. And now I'm feeling myself kind of journeying into the dark a little bit because this isn't my inner experience, but there's this sense of the quest for things that don't really leave the head and the heart, things that are deep desires, or completely on the flip side, wrestling with demons is very much a Venus and Scorpio experience. Um, as someone who has a Scorpio stellium, I don't have the particular Venus flavor to it, but there is a real sense in Scorpio of a deep and abiding knowledge of your inner demons, and the knowledge that you need to learn how to befriend them or keep them on a leash, or um, you start talking about Scorpio and you get into very dark territory very fast. Um, but with Venus in particular, there's this sense of striving for inner peace, I think, that is incredibly important in the life of my husband. He's a Zen practitioner, and so that striving for inner peace and that experience of just sitting on the mat and watching the storms in your head go by and not learning how to separate yourself from them and recognize that um, there is a center to your being that is calm and peaceful and centered even when the storms of emotion and in your mind are racing, has been a really big part of his practice. He has the sun in Scorpio, and I have the sun in Taurus, and so we've got that opposition in our charts, and so um, there's very much this sense in our relationship of um, this this mutual striving for peace under difficult circumstances, either on the inside or on the outside. And so, um, in our relationship, there's definitely this sense of a need to be really active in creating peace because it doesn't happen for us naturally. It's like we both know that if we get lazy, things start to fall into chaos on my side or fall into darkness on his. And so there's this sense where we know that we have to actively be working with Venus, um or things are not going to go in the direction that we go with.
Mm. Yeah, that's really interesting to hear that perspective. And yeah, when I guess consulted with others who happen to have Venus and Scorpio, what I've noticed, at least if they have artistic tendencies, that they are into creating art that is like esoteric or occult kind of centered,
Mhm.
which is like that's the flavor of Scorpio.
Absolutely. It's definitely the case. I'm curious if for you living with Venus and Virgo, if there's this sense of needing to work actively with Venus in the way that I've noticed in in us with people living with Venus and detriment.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess once I realized my Venus placement, it was in some ways like coming to peace with that reality. Because yeah, of all my planets, like I think Venus is the most like challenged in my chart. Just yeah, the other layer is that, she's in the 12th house for me, which kind of is its own form of debilitation in some ways for a planet. So yeah, she's dealing with a lot in my chart. And and then so because I'm also an artist, it's kind of like I suppose like recognizing that or I guess in some ways embracing that and kind of finding a way to I guess yeah, bring meaning to it, which I feel like I have. Which yes, I think especially as an artist, you're encouraged to figure out like, well, why are you doing what you're doing? And I figure out that I'm illuminating the unknown, which that more is 12th house versus Virgo, but um, yeah, I the Virgo part of it, I think, is just more to do with kind of the aesthetics of my art and being kind of very precise. Even the way it's like presented, it's like very like clean and taking into account of the edges and yeah, being very detailed with how like I not only make the art but also present it.
That when you said illuminating the unknown, it's a bit of a cliche, but I felt like a light bulb went on for me a little bit about what 12th house Virgo means because um one of the things that people have the tendency to struggle with Virgo is they don't understand why Virgo is ruled by Mercury. It's pretty common for people to be like, shouldn't Virgo be ruled by Saturn? Because Virgo has this, as stereotypical association with like rules and regulations, and isn't that like Saturn's bag? But Mercury is the planet of knowledge and knowing, and so I feel like by saying that there's this sense of illuminating the unknown that you're illuminating that relationship with Mercury. It's like you're calling Mercury to the floor and being like, no, yes, really, you do belong here. There's a reason why you don't only rule this side, but you also have your exaltation here.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah, that's a good way to think of it or like phrase it. Yeah.
I think it's really beautifully said.
Well, I don't know if there's anything else we wanted to touch on for.
I think that we have covered everything. We had a nice, neat outline when we started. And of course, I came in and made a complete mess of it and jumped to like plot three. And so I'm going along here and I'm like, okay, no, I think we have covered just about everything but the essential dignity controversy. But I think that we should leave people off with a little bit of mystery on that. Give them something to research that's outside of this video. So, assuming you agree with me, how can people find you if they want to learn more about your astrology practice and your art?
Yeah, well, I practice astrology. Right now, I do it actually with my husband. We've both been trained by different astrologers. So we kind of bring those together under our practice Cosmic Consults, which you can find on like Instagram or TikTok. And for my art, which I've been talking quite a bit about, you can find that under also on Instagram or TikTok under my name, which is Teri Hendrich .c. And for my website, it's terihc.art. And I'm assuming there'll be links somewhere just because my name is spelled Teri, which everyone assumes is like the last way to spell Terry, but that's how I spell it. Yeah, with 4 letters. So yeah, where you can find me. Oh, and sometimes I'm at events in Los Angeles, kind of doing pop-ups with like my art or like offering kind of like mini readings for people in person. Yeah.
I think that that's fantastic. I was hoping you were going to mention something about that because as somebody who has built their astrology practice entirely online, every time I hear about somebody doing local stuff, I'm like, that sounds so magical. You get to actually sit down with your clients. That's amazing. So if you're in Los Angeles, you should definitely check out Teri's work and see about getting a reading with her at these events because I think that's super cool. So you can find me at Ada Pembroke just about everywhere. And yes, there will be links to everything in the descriptions on whatever platform you were viewing this on. Um, yeah, I'm adapembroke.com, Ada Pembroke on Instagram, Ada Pembroke on YouTube. Those are the really big three, though. Frankly, I like to hang out on Threads the most. So if you're a text person, that is most definitely my jam. And if you are watching this soon after we posted it, I have a course that is enrolling right now, actually called Storytelling with Astrological Symbols, which is an introduction to narrative astrology, which is the type of astrology that I practice. I bring together astrology and storytelling skills. And the goal of the class is to hopefully find a story for your life from your chart that really lights you up. That is something that you will, um, in a Venus and Aries kind of way, want to quest for and go after no matter what. So if you are um, if you are watching that this in October 2025, you can find out more about the class at adapembroke.com/storytelling. Do you have anything coming up in the next little while, Terry?
I mean, other than like gallery exhibitions, which again, you'll be able to find that on my website. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, I'm doing pop-up events, but those are probably happening too soon for those who might be watching this recording. But I do want to add that I've studied under you, and I always tell people that the way you teach astrology is really approachable and kind of like easy to like kind of consume. Whereas I think it's so the material can be otherwise so daunting and overwhelming, but you make it a
Mm.
lot more accessible. So I definitely
Thank
encourage
you.
others sign up if you feel tempted.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot to me. Um, yeah, so check us out, reach out, and happy days.